Well, good evening, everybody, and you're very welcome to this event this evening, starting your engineering career in Northern Ireland. My name is Shirley MacDonald. I'm the Acting Membership Director with Engineers Ireland. So we're delighted to be able to run this event for our new and hopefully engaged community of engineers within the Northern region. And thank you all for coming along this evening. Just to introduce those who will be participating in the event this evening. So the event is going to be facilitated by Micheál Gallagher, and Micheál is our Community Engagement Executive with Engineers Ireland. And if you haven't already come across Micheál in your membership journey in Engineers Ireland, you certainly will do in the coming weeks and months. We're delighted to be able to collaborate this evening with Bickerstock, and in particular with Hugh Nugent, who is the Associate Director and Engineering Recruitment Specialist in Bickerstock, and with Shauna Devlin, who is the Marketing Executive with Bickerstock. So thanks for joining us. We do hope that you get some good advice, and we look forward to some active participation for the Q&A session at the end. So thank you all.
Thank you, Shirley, for a phenomenal introduction. And look, just before we hand it over to our really valuable partners in Bickerstock, just to kind of flag some of the super offerings that are going on at the moment in Engineers Ireland, and viewpoints towards, sorry, my screen just froze there, the graduate offering. So for all of you who are graduating from Queen's University, from Ulster University, anywhere at all in Northern Ireland, you can actually take advantage of free graduate membership. And look, if you're attending today's talk, or if you're watching back on it and you're doing some active research on your career, look, that all counts as continuous professional development. And if you are a member, do remember to log your CPD, because you need to be building up 35 of these every year during the beginning of your career. For those of you who are students and maybe you're not quite yet in final year, or you're not yet in your MEng, just a reminder, you can get free student membership with us. We love to have you. Engineers Ireland is the largest English-speaking professional body for engineers in the European Union. So look, it's a great place to base yourself if you do if you have ambitions for kind of like a global international career around the European Union. And in your year of graduation, all you need to do is click that button to become a full member. Again, this is a current discount rate for the graduating students. We'd love for you to take advantage of it. All our prices are in euro, but if you have, Revolut or any kind of banking thing, you can easily get an exchange rate. So yes, without further ado, I am going to now introduce our main speaker of the evening. With more than 10 years in recruitment, Hugh Nugent, the Associate Director and Engineering Recruitment Specialist at Bickerstock, specializes in the recruitment of technical and supply chain professionals. Having built trusted relationships with his ever-expanding client network, Hugh has a true understanding of what his clients are seeking in a candidate both professionally and personally. He works to support growth through key appointments and has established Bickerstock as a key partner to the technical sector. With a strong local knowledge and true understanding of the roles he recruits for, Hugh is best placed to offer confidential career advice at every stage in a candidate's career. Hugh specialises across design, development, quality, health and safety, and senior positions in executive recruitment in Northern Ireland and the border counties. And I believe, as I hand over the floor to Hugh, he has a kind of a structure to his presentation. So thanks again, Hugh, and I'll hand over to you.
Micheál, thank you very much to yourself and Shirley for having us. Very much Engineers Ireland has been all over the CVs for all the candidates we've been dealing with for this past 10 plus years. So certainly a valuable partner from connectivity from our perspective, as well as the candidates that are on the market having a look at. Certainly whoever wrote that bio needs a pay rise as well. So I don't think I could have wrote it so nicely for myself. Okay, I have this all at the top of my head to speak, but at the same time, because I do it all day long every day, but at the same time, I don't want to shortchange yourself in some detail. So I have some points here I'm going to try and work along with as well too. So if you see me reading the odd bit and piece bear with me, because I'm not a pro webinars or conference calls. This is the first one I've been a key speaker with. More a face-to-face phone person. So yeah, it's kind of all in my head. So I'm just trying to share it out over a short period of time. And a bit like interviews and interviewers in particular, you have to remember that everyone can be nervous on the day. There's a lot of interviewers that you will probably walk in the door with through your career, and you'll look at them and go, how could they be nervous? There's an awful lot of ones that maybe are speaking to me in the background saying, I don't know what questions to ask, or I'm sitting, I'm a director in the firm, but I'm sitting with the MD. He's going to be watching and listening to me. I need to make damn sure I don't let the side down here. So there's nervousness on both sides of the whole process. So first and foremost, you might be a grad, but everyone's been a grad at some point in their career, or you might be early in your career, but they've all sat where you've sat, is the first thing that I would say in this whole process. I'm told the target market of the webinar is pretty much grad, or those with maybe a year or two under their belt. So basically I'm going to target these, but there's a lot of quick fire sort of information that will help sort of line things up well for experienced engineers as well too, as we'll go through this. Basically on ourselves, as a wee bit of an overview, Vickerstock, our company was basically founded in international aerospace engineering and was developed and has developed basically in Northern Ireland, and then really into the manufacturing engineering niche then thereafter, and then to construction afterwards, construction engineering. We've pretty much established ourselves as a leader in the area that we cover, and it's basically our reputation that keeps on having the firms come back. We don't really do an awful lot of business development, because when we fill good roles with good companies, the previous success of that means they keep on coming back into us. So basically that's the forum I'm coming to you from that perspective. I personally am an engineer manufacturing recruiter, have been for many a year now, and I'm the longest serving member of staff in Vickerstock. And to give you a bit of background, rather than me just kind of say I'm good at what I do and I know what I'm at, I have a personal hit rate of CV sent, CV shortlisted to the firms to interview of about 80-90% mark. So most that I'm sending is getting an interview, and realistically it's detail. This is all a technical, your CV and how you present yourself is all a technical specification of you. So it's important to maybe not think of what the Careers Advisory Services had said to you in the past. Keep it short, keep it simple. Keep it detailed, keep it focused, keep it targeted, is what I would say as a bit of an overview. So first steps before you do anything, probably the point of where most of you are at. The first steps is to begin with the end in mind. So you need to think about, right, I've got my degree, or I've got some level of experience. Where do we begin? So I'm kind of assuming that a number of these are in that sort of wavelength. So where do you want to live? Is probably the biggest thing I would say to begin with. So a lot of people tend to leave if they don't have a local family network within their area, or family or friends, or it's not within a facility of maybe an hour of a university, or a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever, unless they're individuals who would be more of a mindset of, I want to get away, I want to go into a foreign city or further afield. I don't mind not having the support. You kind of know if you're that person or not. So, what is it? The Chancellor, the checker always turn around and say location. So first and foremost, where do you want to base yourself from? The second thing, I suppose I would say, is where do you see yourself in 10 years' time? So if we're beginning with the end in mind, what type of role do you want to be? What type of, is it a manager that you're looking to be? What type of manager? Design manager, manufacturing manager? There's hundreds of different types of engineers, and hundreds of different types of pathways. Are you looking towards salary? Are you looking towards big salary? Is it realistic of the pathway that you're starting out with here? Look it up, check out for, to see that it matches in with your expectations. Look at roles, job. You'll find that through this process, I talk about job adverts as being a really good source of information for you. It'll give you an idea of an expectations. Don't listen till other grads coming out saying, I've got a role and they're paying me X amount of pounds. The amount of times I've had a grad turn around and ring me up and say, oh, I've heard wee John has got 30,000 coming out the door. I'm looking something like that. Whereas the reality of it is I know wee John, I just placed him last month. And I know exactly what he got and it wasn't 30,000. So sometimes there's the odd wee porky pie. So, you know, research and look up and see exactly what it would be and make sure that your expectations are well lined up. Decide on the role. Think well and hard. You know, is it a design engineer that you want to be? Is it a manufacturing engineer you want to be? Process engineer? You know, quality engineer? Why do you want to do that? You know, do you enjoy it? Do you know much about it? Do you really understand what it entails? Again, job descriptions. Look them up to get a bit of an idea and a feel. Speak to friends. Speak to individuals who've done them types of roles before. Look up on LinkedIn to see people that are doing them roles at the minute and what it says that the role involves and entails. You know, get a bit of your own proactive work experience happening in the background. Look up YouTube. You know, there's a lot of different resources you can use to find out. You know, someone like me, I can give you a take on what a quality engineer does in any of the different firms, be it crushing and screening, be it medical device, be it plastic polymers or an electronics type of environment. They're all a little bit different. There's a lot of shared skill set that carries across. So it very much depends from firm to firm and industry to industry. So look, research, and really suss out what you want to do, because the last thing you want to do is go down the line of doing a particular type of role, say a design engineer, and then decide, no, I'm not enjoying this just as much, and then try and become a manufacturing engineer, because you're going back to square one. You know, unless the firm is going to give you a wee bit of patience and the opportunity to sidestep from design into manufacturing engineering, you'll probably find that you'll have to apply to maybe another company, and the salary is going to creep back down again till you get that skill set and experience to come back up again. You know, if you've initially had a couple of years experience in the previous type of engineering role. Also, you need to consider, you know, what level of role are you looking to strive up to, again, with the end in mind. You know, not every engineer is going to become a director or a managing director for their profession. Some professions and some industries don't offer the same level of opportunity as others. I gave you the crushing screening industry in Northern Ireland, for talk's sake. It's all in the Mid-Ulster area. So there's an awful lot of roles within that, and the salaries can be pushed a little bit higher, but it's a demand and supply thing, you know, all across Northern Ireland. And if there's an awful lot of, say you're going to an electronic, you know, mechanical encased electrical products, you know, there's a lot of people looking into that, even coming from heavy industry. So, you know, it's good to talk to an individual like ourselves who can kind of say, well, this is what the case is in the current climate. So again, keep on doing that research and suss it out. Measure twice and cut once. I'm sure you've heard that referred to a few times. So measure, line it all out, line out the ducks. Pro and con lists is definitely something that's really going to help to make the decisions, because sometimes it does change when you put it all down on paper. So that's a very important from that perspective. Next thing is getting your CV ready. Just moving my screen. Yeah, I can see that Michael's ahead of me there. So no point getting this far. No point having maybe a year or two work experience. No point studying, getting to the point where you've got your degree to not promote yourself well enough. I've seen so many times the CVs come through, and all I really have is pretty much the list of every different aspect of the degree on the CV and nothing really else. You know, you need to think about, you know, what type of person are they looking for? How can I kind of get my own personal twitch into this here and promote myself? There's basically those that spend the most time and effort in the CV, they're the ones that get the roles. Those who don't. If you think that you're going to spend half an hour firing your degree, copy the university syllabus, fire it down below, put down 2 references and your contact details, and you're going to get it. No, you need to think a little bit more, and I'll go into the specifics of that just after here in a moment. do me one personal favour, spell curriculum vitae right, or just go CV. Spelling mistakes, especially up front and centre, slap everybody in the face as soon as they look at it. Also make sure you have a LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn is a CV online connected through to you. So make sure that it perfectly matches in. So whatever's in your CV is up to date, the timeline, everything is all on. Recruiters like me will find you through your career and through the likes of LinkedIn. It is fundamentally a CV database. So you're not going to put your photograph of you up painting, etc., and the wee circle up the top left of it either. This is a professional thing where employers are going to look at and they're going to see you. As is all the rest of your social media, by the way. So make damn sure that your rest of your social media is locked down, and even your mates don't have photographs of you steaming from a Saturday night 2 years ago. Try and get it all reined down, because there's a lot of different employers will fully look you up. What address or addresses really are you going to be based from? So this is again looking at your area. You potentially should put down 2 addresses if you're looking to go, well, look, I could easily work from home in such and such a location and be based within an hour from there. Most firms don't really want people traveling over an hour, because I think an hour becomes an hour and 20 minutes in the icy weather. Someone's not going to stay. If you get $3,000 less close to home, you'll not stay in the company. So they're generally very mindful of the likes of that. But you might have 2 addresses. You might go, well, I could live down in Tyrone with my family and travel within an hour there. I also would happily base myself up from Belfast and have an hour there. So you're going to have to spell it clean and simple and clear at the top that you've got a radius around both of them zones. So get that in and get that crystal clear at the start. Profile. Take in any fluffy stuff about yourself. Anything fluffy, anything. I am a great team player. I communicate really well. Anything else that you want to say that's in any way nice and it's not quantifiable, get it all out there. You want a profile that targets the type of roles that you're going for. So if you're looking to go for a design engineer type of role, for talk's sake, the profile targets your design engineer. If you're looking for 2 different areas, you'll have a design engineer profile and a manufacturing engineer. I know I'm pulling up them 2 different role titles, but they're 2 common ones. And you'll have 2 different CVs. One will target this and one will target that. So the profile is 4, 5, 6 bullet points. If you're more closer to grad type level, it might be 3, 4. Where it might say you've got a 3rd level qualification in mechanical engineering, for talk's sake. It might turn around and say you have 1 year's experience in working with high street yield or some different company there. It might say that you have 3 months educational experience in using SolidWorks and 6 months education experience in using Pro Engineer or Creo design, 3D design packages within HIAB, a company, I suppose, for want of a better way. So basically bullet points, setting 10 words instead of 20. If you can turn around and give a quantifiable, 1 year's experience of doing this, 6 months experience of doing this, on a daily basis I did this up to the value of X, Y, and Z. Factual, quantifiable, technical specification. It's not that you're an IKEA piece of furniture, by no means, but you have to kind of line it out with a punchy, and this. So when they look at that, for the type of role that the HR managers are recruiting for, they go, this guy or girl is pretty perfect. If they've got this skill set down below in their CV or this level of experience down below in their CV, we're going to be interested. And they look down to see a little bit more detail, a little bit more quantifiable again, because the bullet points are the headers. So look at it in that way. Do not do paragraphs of text. Avoid wordy. Again, keep it to factual pointed as much as you possibly can. Okay, so next thing then, after profile, the last bullet point in your profile should be your degree, your qualifications, unless you have very little experience. And at what point then I put the degree front and center and lead with that. So after that is work history. I don't put educational down below that for a reason, because you've already mentioned the educational upper level. I do a full educational section down below work history. So in the work history, again, it's the detail. It's looking at the likes of the job ads, the types of roles that you're applying for. It's all perfect material for you. So basically describe your positions, any positions or any experience that you have accurately. If your previous experience is zero engineering, then minimize it and bring it down to just short, sharp. It's not as relevant. This CV has to be relevant and targeted. If you have one engineering role or a year of experience for talk's sake, and there's 3 different jobs, one's in McGee's, one's in a shop, and different things like that, keep them all small, but keep the engineering, give me 10 bullet points to describe your role. So types of things that I would want to see in the CV is your first 3 bullet points for each role would be things like with the key essential things, the 3 aspects of what you mainly do. So, again, quantifying. So how many years experience in doing this, who you reported to job wise. So you might turn around and say, I had 8 months experience in being a design engineer. Next bullet point, I reported to the engineering manager and was one of 3 design engineers. You're starting to paint a wee bit of a picture. 30% of my day I was doing, or on a daily basis I was doing, or I was fully responsible for. You might talk about different other aspects like the quality system. You might turn around and say, I worked the quality system ISO 9001, oil and gas and aero and medical device, and all the different types of industries commonly have different types of quality standards. 9001 will carry across to most of them, to be fair. I worked on a project commissioning value off also the time periods. I worked on a projects ranging through from 2 weeks to 2 years. Machinery tools that you used, be it gauges or verniers or anything else that you were picking up when you're working with. If you have one bullet point just saying this is the types of tools and machinery that are used, there's quality types of machinery in that, and CMM equipment, etc. That all can be put on there. I would things as well too. If you were doing like a level of maintenance or that type of an engineering say things, you might turn around and say I have 60% mechanical, 40% electrical. The likes of maintenance engineers, for talk's sake, that Warren's on this webinar as well. He would do that a lot whenever he's presenting them types of candidates across. Working to health and safety legislation and environmental standards, different KPIs that you work to, how you achieved them, how you exceeded them. Computer packages, design systems, things like SAP, JTI processes. If there's even things like Kaizen, lean continuous improvement systems that you work to, or you've monitored, or you have exposure to. Exposure to is a really good thing to say from a grad perspective, because if you turn around and you say, I have exposure to doing this, it's not saying you have done it to an extensive level. You just have a level of knowledge of it, and you have done it in a work environment, maybe minimal, but it's up to you go through the interview process and then to find out that additional bits of information for them to make the decision, are you right? So that's setting them up with a bit of a level of interest, so when the interview comes, you're in line. You might sometimes talk about having a skill level of 8 out of 10 of using a particular package or a particular system, or being a super user in the system. So there's a lot of different things that you can all get in that CV, and again, sort of the lean continuous improvement standards, things that you've adhered to. Adhered to is a good way of talking about systems and processes and that as well. If you've made any successful like cost savings or improvements or changes or twitches, talk about that. That's maybe your last 2 bullet points if you've got some level of experience and exposure there. When you've done your CV, then have a look at the specific job description that you're looking to apply to. Go through it line for line, open up 20, 30, and look at them all and go, what are these firms all asking for? You'll see, if it's the same type of role, you'll see there's a repeat in a lot of job descriptions. Use that information to get that into your CV and communicate that back where you have experience and you have exposure to it, to let them know where your skill set's at this point in time. You're always looking to highlight the white. You're not looking to say, I don't really have anything on, even come interview. You're looking to say, this is what I do have. This is the experience I do have. This is the quantifiable amount I'm coming to you with. So always promoting and highlighting the white, never the black. see, I have some more points here. When reviewing your CV, that's the thing. Ultimately, the HR person is going to sit with your CV on one side and the job description on the other. And if they see their terminologies and they see you have a matching skill set, even if you're only matching with 7 of the 9 things, they'll look and go, well, he's got 7 of the 9 here, right? I'm going to shortlist this person on through and put him through, or her through to the hiring manager for consideration for interview, or let's get them in for interview. We'll define it a little bit closer when the time comes and we'll ask questions on this. So just remember, they're trying to match that, to make it easy for them to turn around and say, yes, 100%, let's get this person in. Education, straightforward. Just repeat again, up from up above, what your degree is, what your A levels, what your GCSEs are. GCSEs, you've gone on down the path. I would mention them as a list, because you don't want to overbulk out, a whole big section of your CV with, your 10 GCSEs. I personally would say 10 GCSEs, A to C, including English and Maths. You can get into the nitty gritty at a later stage if and when it's needed. Commonly, it's not when you've got to the point where you've had your engineering related degree. Your training and qualifications, keep it pointed, keep it relevant. Keep it to the engineering type of things. If you've done training and it's not as relevant to your career, then you don't necessarily. Are you going to take up space and use that for that information? Maybe not. Maybe you can bulk out and give a lot more detailed information on the jobs or the roles that you do have relevant experience on. Interests and hobbies is absolutely prime for grads and individuals with less experience to get across the type of person that they are. Like, don't just turn around and go, I like going to the pub and I like training and play golf and things like that. This is the prime opportunity to think, right, where am I an engineer at home? Where am I keen and interested and enthused? Have you got Adreno, where you're sitting and working and building together and learning a wee bit of programming as well as your mechanical engineering degree, and you're building up this side of things? Are you from a farming background? Firms love farming background individuals because they're used to doing a half a day's work in the morning, coming in doing a long day's work with them, and then go back and milking the cows again, later on. And they're also used to working with their hands. They're used to fixing the machinery. They know how to use a grinder. They're in and involved and working and thinking and doing. So if you're from a farming background or you have experience in working within a farming type of thing, from an interest and hobbies perspective, get it in. If you're fixing old cars, if you're changing your own oil filter, get them types of things in. If you put on solar panels in the roof or fix your oil boiler, talk about the engineering related interesting things where you can communicate that. And that's a type of person. You're an engineer out of work as well. That is a key opportunity for you looking to get on the ladder and get going. Obviously, other interests and hobbies, if you're kite surfing or doing something that's a wee bit different or unusual, get all them things in as well, because they're talking points in the interview. We Vickerstock, we sponsor the Queen's Formula student and have done so for years now. The amount of CVs coming through with the likes of the Formula student and talking about that end of things, that is a whole talking point in the interview. You're setting yourself up for an interesting, enthused discussion. The guy on the other side of the table can often be party to them types of things and that as well. But it's definitely an interesting talking point. So, get involved in any extra things that you possibly can. I know certainly Engineers Ireland has different training and development and things and all like that. Them types of things, get them all included. Don't shortchange yourself by not mentioning all the different aspects of relevant information. Get it in. So basically, the next thing we would say is be proactive with your CV. That's pretty much covered all of the essential. I would go interesting at the very bottom. I would turn around and say references available upon request. You don't necessarily need to give references out at every stage. In fact, you don't want them calling references unless you have them prepped. This firm's going to give you a call. Give me a good reference. This is what it's about. This is the type of role. This is what they're looking for. Talk me up. That kind of a scenario. So be proactive with your CV, but don't blast it out. Control it. List down where you're applying to, who you're applying to, who it's going across. If the likes of me or from a recruitment consultancy, be selective. Don't send it out to willy-nilly. There's a lot of different firms there that will look at your CV and see engineer and think one engineer is the same as them all. Where realistically, we know it's not. We know it's niche and a specialist. So pick and choose specifically who you put it to, who you apply to, and the type of career that you want. Be strategic about it and record it all. Get your little black book out and open the back of it. Start working in reverse for your career and note it all down. Follow it up, chase it. Make sure you know who it goes, where you're applying to, what date it was, who it was through. Control your career and your application process. A CV also should always be continuously improved on. Continuous improvement isn't just on the factory floor. You should always be improving it. Never just submit it anywhere going, sure it'll do. It's too important, and ultimately it's the ticket to your perfect job. So, why would you send it out willy-nilly without really thinking about it? So researching the market. On the next bit, he's all there. I'm talking to myself now.
Yeah. We're all here, Hugh, and I think you're making a lot of points, and a lot of things that you're saying, even like going back to your first point around like measuring twice and cutting once. That's often language and terminology we would hear from like our professional title holders, our chartered engineers and everything. So we're all with you, and you're making a lot of sense, so don't worry.
Fair enough. No, here, Shauna and Warren there in the background, my two colleagues, probably chuckling to themselves going, this is like the perfect role for him because it allows him to talk away to himself and nobody to talk back. Anyway, I'll keep with it. I'll keep it lit. So researching the market. So you've researched a little bit and you've looked at where you might want to apply to, what you might want to do, but you really need to sit down and you need to look at it and go, right, I can't leave this up to somebody else. I need to start to think, who am I actually going to work for now? What am I actually going to do? What does it look like? Start thinking about, I have to drive to the place. What's the traffic going to be like there? If you're driving into the city centre, for talk's sake, you need to factor in there's an hour, half an hour added there. I used to live in the south of Belfast and driving to the city centre. It took me 25 minutes to get in. And it was about 2 miles. So you need to think about things like that, the actual semantics of this. You need to think about, if I work in a plastic polymer firm down the road, am I going to be put up with, there's a level of smell. I had a guy who worked for, I think it was about 6 years. I'm aware of a guy that worked for 6 years in a flour company. Basically, he took flour and made bread, and he was a manufacturing engineer. And it took him a long time to realize that he was allergic to flour. I think it was about 6 years before he realized. And what he was doing is he was going into work on a Monday, fine. And Monday through to Friday, he got just dramatically worse and worse and worse until he came to the point where he went home on Friday, absolutely dying. Saturday was a little bit better. Sunday was grand. And then it started the rigmarole again the next week. So, there's certain things you need to factor. If you have bad asthma, there's some people just, will struggle with some smelly type of environments. And so you need to start thinking about, well, which firms, who am I going to work for? Where are they based? What engineering manufacturing firms is in my local vicinity? Years ago, you had to pick the yellow pages up, but you can just sit at your computer and your laptop, or be doing it in the background, typing in the different types of firms, the different things they do. Start thinking about, what would I like to make? If it's a case that you're looking to improve the world, and you're kind of thinking to yourself, well, look, I've kind of went down the engineering route because I'm looking to make improvements and better things. There's companies out there that do products have a feel good factor, and I'll mention them. There's this firm, Hartsign, they're now Stryker, and they're just outside Belfast, and they make the defibrillators. But they get letters from wee old men and women, and even younger individuals, that say, "Thank you very much for your product. Your product has saved my husband or my wife's life. I don't know what I would do had your product not saved them." And these letters and these emails come through, are shared among all staff, and it gives them a bit of a feel-good back factor. James Lackey, they make postural support for adults, young people who can never stand up or sit up or move, and it gives them the ability to move in their own fruition themselves for the first time, and their families all standing around crying because they've made this level of apparatus that's just give joy. So there's things like that, and then there's the other end. Then there's the other end of the scale. I know engineers that love working in Thales who make missiles. I know other engineers turn around and go, "Not on your alley. Am I being part of that?" So decide what type of firms. Start really thinking about what can I see myself doing. Like crushing and screening is a massive industry in the Mid-Ulster area. Are you looking to go into the heavy metal side of things, the heavy metal fabrication? Is it the smaller mechanical encased components, electronics and electrical, that technical side? What really is it that you enjoy? Because you set yourself down this path and you go in the wrong path and try to flip it later. As I said before, you just get yourself a little bit bogged down, because at that point you might have knobbies to change or a mortgage to pay, and you might be turning around going, I can't take that level of drop. So your first few years is key. So use all the resources you possibly can to get the right opportunity. Make sure you're talking to the right people that is giving you the right guidance, and not to the wrong ones, because there's people out there, one will say that wall's white and another will say it's black. So sit down. Again, I have pro and con it. I'm a believer in writing everything down and really thinking about it. So look at the companies in the locality, look at the roles they recruit for, look at what they talk about, the roles involved, look about what the companies do, the products that they make, look up articles for the companies to see, are they up, are they down, is there new products, is there new things coming out, how creative, how involved are they in the new development. Then there's the people side, when research the market, look at the skill sets of people, look at like LinkedIn, it's the skill sets of a lot of people across Ireland. Look at the path that they took to get where they are now. What did that involve? And if you're looking to do that, what do you need to do to get along that path as well too? You have a lot of different resources. Obviously, you have the likes of me and Vickerstock. You have Engineer in Ireland, Michal and Shirley. You've got LinkedIn. There's recruitment advertising sites. You've got connections and people. Good people know good people. You've got connections. You're bound to know individuals that are further on in your career. Partner with some of them. Ask them the questions. They will know, or certainly be able to point you in the right direction. Good people know good people. So communicate to find out, is it the right path? Ask people who are doing that type of role, what do you like about your role? Some people love sitting in front of a computer all day long designing, 90%, 95%. Other people absolutely hate it. They go down the path and go, I couldn't be a design engineer. I've done it for 3 months and I couldn't stand it. Have to be down on the floor, have to be working with my hands. Write down the types of things that you're looking for, and then tell someone like me, tell somebody or apply to the roles that involve doing them types of things. A good job description will tell you this is what it involves. Or alternatively, ring and ask the firm and say, I'm interested in this. Can I get a little further information on it? Or go to the interview and find out the information there and get a bit of interview practice as well. Okay, so then the next thing is interview preparation. Getting the CV fixed up actually sets you up well for the next. So if you do each stage really well, then you're well prepared for the next bit. A really good CV fix up and set up and being really targeted to the job description is the best possible interview preparation that you'll have from your skill set matching the role. So, look at it in that way. You should not send a CV to the role unless you have that really well detailed, targeted to the position. So basically, failure to prepare is you preparing to fail from the outset. So things like what you need to do is you need to know, because the firms will ask for this, what do you know about the firm? What do you know about it? It could be an elevator pitch. You might take 30 seconds, bit of practice, 20, 30 seconds to tell them. Information resources, we can find this out, is their website. Look up articles. You can go and Google, you can go articles, and you can go the time scale. It's up at the top right, and go past year, past week, past month, just to kind of see what's new and what's fresh on the firm. Look up LinkedIn, look at the people that work in LinkedIn within that firm, or have worked in LinkedIn from that firm, where they all came from. People you might know some people that know people in there, connect in with people and ask them. YouTube, there's a lot of different firms. This webinar is going up onto YouTube as an example. There's a lot of different firms that put their products, put their processes, put a tour of their factory up on YouTube. Get a bit of a look at that and see. There's marketing material, technical specifications on machines and products. Yet get to know what the products and all involved, get to know who their competitors. Sometimes competitors are mentioned there. Whenever you're searching, Google gives you other options for competitors. Look up and see what patents that they've put out. On our website, you might see their quality standards, or you might see it elsewhere. For a retailer where it talks about what quality standards the products is dealt with or up to the level of, or what they're adhering to. And just as an all around, do as much research as you possibly can, so that some firms, if you don't answer that question right, they'll go, yeah, to every other thing. So it is important to have that right. A lot of firms also ask, why do you want to work? Why do you want to work here? Why are you interested in this role? You need to line that up as well. You need to have really research that job spec. Again, that would done a level of prep with your CV fix up. So go through the job spec beforehand. So you might turn around and say, look, the job spec's perfect. I want a role that's hands-on, or I don't want a role that's hands-on. I want a design role, or I want a manufacturing engineer role. It says on that this is a graduate role, but you're going to take me and train and develop me up internally, and you're also going to put me in courses. It's exactly what I'm looking for to nail my career. So match in with the job spec, match in with the role, match in with what they do. You might turn around and go to Heartsign or Striker and say, I want the feel good factor of what I'm going to do. If I'm going to work 40 hours or 37 and a half day work, then I want to make sure that I'm doing good in the world and I'm enjoying it. And if I'm going to earn money, I might as well earn money doing that type of a thing. Again, it depends on you. You need to think that through. So other things you can talk about is what you've heard about the firm. You're interested in what they do. You can line yourself up with them. You could say, look, in 5 years' time, I'm looking at X, Y, and Z, and your company goals is X, Y, and Z. So there's a synergy there. What makes you different from every other engineer of the same qualification? This is the biggest thing. This is the biggest thing for grad or people without the experience. Like with a degree, you have the principle of how to do the thing. You have the theory of how to do the thing, but you learn so much in the first couple of years of how to actually do it. You get used to not drinking on a Sunday night and being able to get up early on a Monday morning. So there's going to be a wee bit of a cultural change, I suppose, that will happen for me from that perspective. But what are you different? If you're more driven, then you kind of need to get that across. You need to say, well, look, I know I have a lot to learn. In fact, I recommend you say this. I know I have a lot to learn. I'm prepared to do what it takes. I'll be, if you're trying to decide between me and another person, you're on the fence between the two of us. Know now that I'll come in earlier, I'll work later, I'll work harder. If there's something I don't know, I'll ask it once. I'll note it down so I don't have to ask it twice. I'm good at picking up things, and I'm not coming in as a know-it-all. I'm coming in with the willingness to learn. And if you point me in the direction, I'll get it sorted. I'll be going back and researching on YouTube to find out some of the things that I don't know. If you communicate that level of drive and positivity, a manager loves that. They want somebody who's going to come in, not a know-it-all, who's prepared to do what it takes, who works harder, he listens to what they say, to a certain extent does what they're told, at the earlier stages. And some grads don't have that. Some grads come in with that, yeah, I know how to do better. And you just don't want to be that person, because in an interview, it tends not to go down well. You need to build up that level of rapport in that. So yeah, it's important to communicate yourself positively and highlight your attitude, and don't be quiet and shy. Quiet and shy doesn't work in interviews. Are you matching with the job spec with your answer? Are you matching in to the job spec with your answers well enough using examples? Are you genuinely, they ask you questions and you're talking random tandem stuff off to the side, or are you specifically targeting what they're looking for? Give them examples, give them a short story of, well, look, in such and such a firm, or in such and such a project that I did, we did X, Y, and Z. I led this, and this is what we did, and this is the resultant positive conclusion out of it. So talk example. I'll say afterwards here in a minute, but 2 examples for every single thing that they ask you is the key. Like, I personally recommend you taking the job description and putting it in front of you and doing 2 lines out for every single line on it, and going, what 2 examples do I have that perfectly matches me in, that I can talk about for each of them roles? if you turn around and you do 2 examples for every single thing, you're prepping yourself for that interview. You're putting yourself in a strong position to answer, and things to just pull up and click straight out your mouth. Where am I now? So yeah, building rapport with interviewers, so important. You're going to spend more of your waking hours per week with work colleagues than often family. Sure, look at me, Shauna and Warren, I can't get rid of them. They even call me after hours as well too, even though I tell them not to. But genuinely, you are going to be seeing and looking at these people an awful lot. It's important you get on well with them. If you don't like the boss, don't take the job, because if he doesn't like you, he's probably not going to give you the job. So, build that level of rapport and communicate and bond, give a bit of eye contact as well too. And if they ask you a question, there's 5 things I always advise everyone to do. So if they ask you what experience do you have in SAP systems, for talk's sake, so or an ERP system, which is like basically it's the resource planning side of things, of parts, components, and that. Right? So the best thing for you to do is to go like a 2 years experience, 10 years experience, what it is, or I have 3 months exposure to that, or at least even say I'm aware of what it is from a point of view of this. Don't go start off the conversation as a lot of lesser experienced individuals do and say, I don't really have much experience in that, but I know what it is. And whenever I worked for 4 months in such and such a firm, I would have used it like, a few times a week. Start with, I used it a few times a week in such and such a firm on a week-to-week basis for a period of 3 months. I'm well aware of what it is. The system we used was such and such. For example, I would have logged onto the system, and this would have happened, and this would have came up, and I would have changed this and would have done that. That's a better way. Again, highlighting the white rather than the black. So after saying how many years experience you've got, say what firms or what industries that you have it within. Then next thing, say what frequency that you're using it. So on a daily basis. So I've got 10 years experience. I used it for 5 years in this firm, 5 years in this firm. I did it on a daily basis in this firm, and I would have done it 3 or 4 times a week in that company. Then go example 1, example 2, talk about the examples and get 2 examples across them. Every time 2 examples, because if one fails and one shortfalls, the second one will fill in the blanks. Questions to ask them at interview. I've done these before. Shauna asked me, what questions would you advise people to ask if they say, do you have any questions to ask? So I'm just going to read these out. So first question I would recommend asking is there anything in the answers I've given you here today that you would like me to develop on or clarify further a little more accurately? I'm really interested in this position, and I just want to make sure I haven't shortchanged myself in any answers. That's a good one, because that's basically saying, where's my weak links? What am I short on? What could I do a little bit better? Another one is, what does an average day look like within the role, and what does it consist of? Because what the job description gives, it gives you an overarching, but if you kind of get an average day, you can kind of picture yourself going in the morning, doing that the majority of most days, and you'll get a feel for the role, because they could completely throw you. It could be the average day is 4, 5, and 6 in the job description list. You thought it was 1, 2, 3. So ask that to get a real good feel for it. Another question is, what would you say are the best bits and the worst bits of the road, the highs and the positives, as well as the challenges and obstacles that I would face if successful? Again, it's just getting a wee bit more out of them. It's getting the good, the bad, and the ugly. They're good things to draw out, and they'll turn around to you and say, that's a good question, to be fair. Another one is, what opportunity is there for advancement and development from both an internal and external training perspective and career progression? Again, a really good question. It shows keen and interest and drive. That's exactly what you want to show in an interview. In the current market, a lot of people with jobs who are looking to apply on to new ones will often say, due to the climate, and say from a job security perspective, as I believe in that current secure role, where I've been in the company for years, what's the company's future security and order book over the coming year, and how key and how essential is this role to the firm should the climate happen to become less favorable in the future? Am I one of the first in, last in, first out? Is this an essential role? If business drops off, or we lose 20, 30% of business, am I at risk? straightforward question. I think it's fair enough. Future prospects then is after interview preparation. So basically, always keep your eye on the prize. Those that do have better career progression. A comfortable pipe and slippers is an option for some engineers, but it doesn't help spurring your career on. Know if you're settled and comfortable, or know if you're a driven person, and then make the right decisions. Don't pretend that you're one and put yourself down the bad path when you're really the other. There's always some flux at different times in their life between one and the other. Someone with a partner and 3 young kids and a lot of nappies to change and dishes to do, screaming kids and a screaming husband or wife, might just be at the point where they want a steady role, steady daytime hours at that point in their life. A recent grad, I often find a grad, they like the idea of traveling and getting paid to travel. They're looking to learn things and get a skill set and things like that. The experienced guy with a few kids and a lot going on in his or her own personal life does not want to be doing training courses, maybe at that point in time for a couple of years. So acknowledge where you are in your life and make decisions on the back foot, make the right decisions. So that would be my approach from that perspective. But basically those, hang on, let's scroll down a little bit, keep myself on track. Those that succeed in engineering the most of the time, they are those who work harder and smarter than the next engineer, and always will through their career, or most of the time through their career, work harder and smarter. They're those who are always asking for the opportunity to help or work on the next project along with the seniors or their managers. They're those who are always pushing ahead and taking and asking for training and development opportunities. They're those that are heads up commercial business minded engineers rather than head down engineers. A lot of head down engineers, but they're the business minded engineers who can see the small things that they're doing now, and they can look and also see the bigger commercial picture. Businesses always need to be commercial within engineering. It's a business after all. There has to be a level of, the lights still have to turn on. So there has to be a commercial recompense for that role and pay your wages. But most importantly, those that progress the most are the engineers that are always looking and asking and working towards the next personal development, promotion, or career aspirations. That's probably where Engineering Ireland's coming in as well too. They're those with the drive and determination for better. They're working their own internal drive, but always keep one eye on the prize. Their ultimate career aspirations, whatever that might be. Give me 10 minutes of a conversation with these guys, and I'll always know who they are. It becomes tangible within the conversation that they are that type of a person. How do you make it tangible? How do you communicate across that type of person that you are? And engineers like that who outwardly show it always get the job they go for. Their career just goes sky high. And basically those engineers who are like this, and if they're in the right firm, they'll move up quickly. And if they're in the wrong firm, they'll quickly work out it's the wrong firm and move on quickly. So that would be their driving. And just finishing points. I appreciate I probably talked the Dutchman out here. Finishing points. You might be an engineer, but when it comes to your own interviews, you take on the hat of sales engineer for the day. Technically promoting your skill set. If you're quiet and you're shy, get a couple of Red Bull, get a few coffees, get in the door with a wee bit of a bounce and a wee bit of drive. I would normally say stretch the hand out and give the handshake, but at this point in time, I don't know, air high five or fist pump or elbow pump or whatever you're doing these days. And there's a lot more actual interviews towards Microsoft Teams, etc., than what it used to be. Ireland didn't used to do that anywhere near as much. So it's great to see there's a bit of a change. Heads up, assertive, communicative engineers who sell themselves and use good, relevant examples. They just normally get the job over the quieter engineers who don't do this. Therefore, don't be a quieter engineer, especially when it comes near an interview time. If you're going in with short answers in an interview, you're gonna harm your prospects and potential. And no point having all this experience. Like the best guy doesn't always get the job. It's the guy who goes in, promotes and sells his skill set better. I've seen senior guys and intermediate guys go in for the same job, come from the same firm, and the senior guy leads the intermediate guy and helps him out when he's stuck, and the intermediate guy gets the job because he's been in, promoted himself better, and been more communicative, been more assertive. and just nail the job interview over above the Irish on it. You should be doing 50% if they're talking absolute minimum during the interview. It's more likely going to be 70% plus, where you're sitting and you're matching your skill set, and you're giving job examples, and you're matching yourself to what they're specifically recruiting for. You're in to fix a problem. Their problem is they need help in this area. They need somebody with a skill set. You need to be the answer, and you need to be communicating that you are the answer, personality-wise and skill set-wise. You need to fit in with the team, or be seen that you're the type of individual that would work well with the rest of them. A company, basically, they don't just give you the job. You earn the job at an interview. You earn the job with your previous attained skill set and what you say for that 45 minutes or an hour, whatever it is. You know, they're not just going to give a job to you willy-nilly. You have to earn it by communicating that information across. And if you don't deserve the job. You should come out knowing yourself you've nailed it and you've really promoted yourself. So yeah, it's up to you. It's less up to the firm than you think. It's more up to how well you mention and box your skill set out to them.
Well, Hugh, I just want to say a massive thank you on behalf of Engineers Ireland. I don't know if you had any more finishing points, or if you want me now to kind of proceed into the Q&A.
I do this for a living. I'll be honest with you. I spoke to the managing director, Darren McVicker of Vickerstock, and he says, "Look, you grand, you all let up and off for it." And I says, "The truth of it is it's not about filling it's not about me trying to fill the time. It's about what do I limit it down to? Because normally that level of information I communicated across all the processes over 5, 6, 7, 8 telephone calls, and make it relevant to each specific individual, because everyone has a tailored need for something different and is looking for a different area or a different location or a different skill set or a different company, and it's trying to widespread it, and it's feeling I'm sitting here talking on my computer screen, you know.
Well, Hugh, I just want to say again, look, it was absolutely brilliant, and I'm going to end the recording now, but as we do come to the end of the recording, for those who are watching back, if you want to check out other videos, or if you'd like to like and subscribe, the links are appearing around the screen now. And yeah, finally, just a big thank you to Shauna Devlin for organising this and bringing Engineers Ireland and Vickerstock together for this event.